This is one of my stories, so let's get into it. I met Honcho. He lived next door. He sold weed to my dad, and that's how I met him. I'm at his house. I look in the refrigerator. I'm like, damn, Honcho, you ain't got no food in here? And he explains, he got money, but he trying to buy some food stamps. So I'm like, this girl live next door to me. She got food stamps she be trying to sell. I'll try to get some for you. So I head back to my house, and I holler at her. And, she be on that stuff. She be out of it, but she likes to trade her food stamps for either money or the things she likes to do. She gave me the food stamps. It's about like $300 of food stamps on there. Honcho back up. I'm like, Honcho, I got the food stamps. Meet me down the street. Met him. Gave it to him. He gave me the money. Ain't have no problem. I went back to my house. I made a couple extra dollars on the side. I thought it was a good lick. Now, I probably only made maybe like $50 extra out of that whole deal. But I was just trying to help him out. I be cooling it with him and everything. So I'm just trying to look out for him at the end of the day. It's not really about the money. But, you're going to pay me for running around trying to do all this for you. So I'm sitting there chilling at the house, and Honcho calls me. First time, I'm busy. I let it ring. He keep calling. I'm like, it better be important. He keep calling. He blowing my phone up. So I finally pick up the phone, and he's sitting there trying to wild out on me, talking about I ripped him off, I did him dirty, all this and that there wasn't nothing on that food stamp, that it's got reported stolen. And I'm like, the hell? So I automatically know what happened, because once I had bought that card from her, I called it, and the money was on there. But, people that are really on them drugs, they would try to find any little way for that next high. So she reported the card stolen in hopes of getting a new card and making some more money. But she's not going to say that. At the time, he thinks I'm playing games. So basically, he tells me he's in the grocery store line, and the car keeps declining. And he had to come out his pocket with some more money he really didn't have. And everybody's looking at him like he a broke dude and this and that. Just, we ain't messing with each other no more. He's mad, and it is what it is. So a couple weeks go by. I haven't heard from him. We're not talking. I end up getting arrested on some other stuff. So that happened. It was not a good day either. Let me tell you that. End up getting arrested. Put my hands on this dude that was messing with my girl. Had a little fling going on, and it is what it is. Stuff happens in life. So we get to the jail. I'm out of it. I'm going through my feelings and all that. I get my little blanket. It made me, cough, spread them, do all that. And this is back when COVID was going on. So back then they had quarantine. When you got arrested, you had to go to a quarantine cell away from everybody in a different pod for like 10 days. You might be in there with somebody, have a cellie or whatever, but you're in there for 10 days. You can't come out at all. It is like being in the hole. So I'm in there with this dude named Cash. He in there for some crazy stuff, some domestic violence stuff, But, as far as he cool at first, we hitting it all pretty good. We order food. Yeah, you still order food in there, We having a good old time. Best time you can have, being locked up, that is. But when you have food in there, it makes it a little bit better, Every time a orderly comes around, a working man, Cash is telling him to tell his partner in another pod to send him some 3. 3 turns out to be, they call it OJ. It's Suboxone. I've seen these little strips go for $200 a piece. If you're in the Maryland part, I don't know how it is in the other places, but down here, it's Suboxone and K2 is the most the main drugs you're going to see when you get locked up. Them little squares right there go for $25 each. I've seen people become rich off of all this. And I've seen people basically try to sell themselves to get this kind of high. But anyways, he keeps on asking this dude for some 3. I can see he's going through withdrawals. I didn't notice it at first, but he's starting to get a little moody. He turns around, he's like, "What are you smiling about?" I took that as disrespect immediately. And me and him got into it. I ended up hitting him in the mouth. He ended up getting moved out. They got a lot of cameras in there, but they can't see in your cell. So when something happens, like when I hit him, I told him, pack it up. When the CEO comes around to do their checkups, tell him you want to move cells. And that's what he did. Because, I'm way bigger than him. He's only like 5 something. Yeah, so the COs, they only come around every once an hour just to make sure you're still alive in your cell. You ain't escape. You ain't hang it up or none of that. They got cameras in the day room. But I ended up getting moved. I did the rest of my 10 days. And after that, I got moved to a regular pod. I had all my property in my hand going to, I think it was A pod. As soon as I walk in A pod, I'm in the Sally port. There's inmates everywhere. It looks like they're having wreck. I look up on the top range, and I see Honcho. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, what are the odds of this? So I know I got to go say something to him. I'm going to be in this storm with him, and we ain't talked since that stuff happened. So I go up to him, I'm like, "Yo, why you in here?" He told me they had a drug bust on them. They was watching this house. We really ain't say too much after that. He seemed like he was still mad, so I kept my distance. That's the one thing about the county. They ain't never going to run out of bids. So if you thinking they ran out, you wrong. You going to go there, and they going to have a bid right ready for you. My celly, his name was Tamar. He's BGF affiliated. A couple weeks go by, I don't talk to Honcho. There's only one other Crip in the pod. So there's 3 of us, but I'm not really kicking it with them. I hang out with my celly more than anything, even though he's affiliated. The food is horrible. I'll never get used to Sweaty Betty at all. I'd rather make hookups and, just stick to my commissary. At the rec, one day I go back to my cell, and my celly's like, "Yo, I think this is yours." He came me a kite. It say Honcho written on it. So, it looked like it came from Honcho. Basically, I read the kite, and basically the kite saying, "This is Honcho, you made me look some type of way, and I think you owe me, and I need compensation, and you need to pay me at a store day." So my celly, he's sitting there, he's like, "So what are you going to do?" And I tell him, I'm saying, I guess I'm going to have to, go down and take care of this problem. He trying, I don't know what kind of games he's on, but we ain't running that here. Tamar tells me, Honcho's the barber around here. He got razors to cut people's hairs. He got a shank. You better watch out. So, I got that in the back of my mind. I ain't seen no, you usually don't see that kind of stuff in jail. Usually the tools and all that, that's usually in prison. So I'm like, just come with me, make sure nobody jumps in it. Because at this point, I'm just mad. I just want to fight. But at the same time, you got the other Crip out there, Smelly. I ain't been talking to neither Honcho nor Smelly because they been close, thick as thieves. So I ain't even been kicking it with none of them. I don't even know nothing about dude. So I'm just like, just make sure I get my 1v1 in and I'm good. So the door pops and Tamar and some of his people, they walking behind me. I see Honcho, he out there in the rec area. I go up on him. I guess I couldn't control my emotions because I looked angry. He knew what was up. And I threw the punch. I hit him. We started fighting. And then out of nowhere, boom, back of my head. The Smelly. He said, what you doing, cuz? I ain't saying nothing. Me and Smelly started fighting. And boom, in the back of my head, Honcho hit me. I'm just getting waxed at this point. I look behind me. Tamar, they done walked off. I guess as soon as I threw the first punch, they done walked off. Then baked me a cake, and I fell right into that. So I'm trying to hold my own. It's hard fighting two people at once. I ain't gonna lie. It's not like it is on the movies. It ain't like it. So they done knocked me out about 2 times. You know what I mean? The first time I got up, we squared it back off, got to fight, and they knocked me out again because, I'm fighting one, it's just too much. I'm so mad. I got that adrenaline pumping through me. I ain't even feeling nothing until I get that knockout punch. Big boy caught me one good time in the jaw, and, I just felt everything crack, and I fell. Yeah, it was over at that point. I was done. COs came in, grabbed us up. I went to medical. On the way to medical, something just didn't sit right with me. I was hurting, I ain't gonna lie, but yeah, it was replaying through my head, and just how surprised Smelly looked, like he didn't even know what was happening. Something just didn't feel right. I ended up going to the Baltimore hospital. They had to drive me all the way to Baltimore because I had a broken jaw, and that's the most embarrassing thing ever. Walking in front of everybody shackled up, handcuffed to the bed. They had to do a little surgery on me. And, I got a couple pain pills out of the deal, a couple perks. When I woke back up from anesthesia after the surgery was done, they ended up taking me back to the jail. I went to the jail. I stayed in medical for about, I'll say like 3 days. They wouldn't let me take any Percocets, any narcotics. I couldn't. It was over. Tylenol. Go lay in the bed. Tylenol. So I get in the hole. Honcho and Smelly's down there. They let us come out for showers for like 15 minutes a day. And in that time, I think you get like 15 minutes to walk around. And there's like 12 cells in there. I mean, it's the hole. So I go up to Honcho. Honcho called me over there. I go to him. I go to his cell door. And basically, he put me on point. My cell buddy, all this was planned out by the BGF to get the Crips out of there. They was in there bullying people, taking civilians things and stuff. And, I didn't know at the time, but Honcho was stopping them from doing it. I wasn't talking to him. I was staying my distance. But he told me he never even wrote me no kite. And he also told me that my cell buddy Tamar was going to him, telling him that I was in the cell plotting on him because I was in my feelings. So at that point, I got played. I learned a very valuable lesson. I was thinking with my emotions, and I wasn't thinking with my brain. But we started talking again. We got cool again. And this is how deep it went. Your cell buddy packs all your stuff up when you go to the hole or anything happens. Tamar, my cell buddy, this is how dirty he did me. He took all my commissary. He took everything I had. We had a little rug on the ground. We used a blanket, extra blanket for a rug. He took my blanket and gave me the rug. So basically, they was playing chess. They got the enemies to fight each other, and they got us up out of there, and they didn't even have to lift a finger. A few days went by, and guess who showed up in the hole? I'm going to say about 6-7 days went by. Tamar and a couple of the BGFs showed up in the hole. They had got into some conflict with some Bloods up there, trying to bully people, and the Bloods put them out. And from my understanding, when the Blood went to put Tamar on the door, Tamar was like, I'm not even BGF. And that's a no-no. You never say you're not a part of your gang. So his brothers is looking at him like, you said you wasn't a part of this? So he had his brothers hating him, and he had all of us in there hating him. We're all locked in a cell. We can't get to each other. But like I said, we come out for 15-minute showers. I ended up paying somebody $50 to shut him down. That's basically where you can't get to somebody and you do the number 2 in a bottle. You let it sit, put milk, just let it sit. And when that dude came out for a shower, he went to Tamar's door, sprayed him. Yeah, I paid somebody because I'm not playing in no dookie. I paid somebody else to do it. But I couldn't get to him, and that's the only kind of revenge I felt played, and I wanted some type of revenge. You know what I'm saying? And he took all my food and stuff, he was screaming out the door. He couldn't really do nothing. He was telling the COs that he needed to clean up, and they was ignoring him. So, he's mad. He's in there. I like playing in dookie. Give me some more. I don't care. Give me some more. Just wilding in there. He mad. He mad. Big mad. So I ended up doing my 30 days. You usually get 30 days for fighting. And Honcho went back to A pod. I went to B because when you fight somebody, you automatically go on their enemy list. I don't know what happened to Smelly. I think he went back to A. Anyways, the CO comes in there. He tells me my time's done. It's time to go to a new pod. So I gather all my belongings. They give me all my stuff back. I'm carrying my bed, all my belongings. And I go in the Sally port to B. And guess who I seen in the day room? You remember that dude I got to fight in cash in quarantine? Yeah. I ain't know at the time, but he's blood. And I'm about to go on B pod, and there's nothing but bloods in there. So, stay tuned for part 2. It's coming real soon.